All right, guys. Finally getting around to making this video, the pre or the post game Super Bowl 59 video, and I got a lot to talk about. So I had to kind of think about it a little bit before making this video. Kind of think about what I wanted to talk about, and I just I'm not really doing live streams. I would like to do live streams on this channel. I'll have to look into seeing if my channel will allow me to do that, but this one will probably be a little bit more rambly because like I said, I just have a lot to discuss. And just like I said, I don't know if I said in my last video, but I wore the Nick Foles jersey just for good measure, and boy did it pay off. Also got the Nick Foles Super Bowl champs hat on. So it did pay off for sure, because the first thing I want to talk about this game is it kind of felt surreal watching it, because I don't know, I just expected more from the Chiefs. They just looked exhausted. They looked tired. They looked like they didn't belong there, which, I don't think they belonged there. I think the refs rigged it and helped them get there. Would have been far more interesting if we had played the Bills. I still stand by that. But I don't know. Another thing that I noticed during the game is that this Eagles team is just dominant. And then I got thinking about the two championship games, right? Like the Bills and the Chiefs. They played a really tight-knit, barely won type of game. But the Eagles absolutely blew out the Redskins. So when I started thinking of it like that, I was like, well, yeah. In a way, this was always meant to happen. And in my last videos, I did talk about how the only way that I could possibly see the Eagles beating the Chiefs was an absolute blowout. And the score is a little bit misleading. The Eagles beat the Chiefs 40-22, but literally 16 of those points were scored in the fourth quarter from the Chiefs. So the Eagles had basically blown them out before the end of the half. I mean, I went into halftime, I think it was 24-0. I can't remember exactly. But I went into halftime thinking, like, this might be the first time that a team just completely skunks another team. Like, the way that Eagles defense was playing, I didn't think the Chiefs were going to even score. They couldn't even get to our side of the field for most of the game. I mean, it was just 3 and out. They had drops. Travis Kelce, I think he caught one like here and there, but he was like nothing. Like I can't even give you a synopsis of anything good that the Chiefs did. It was that bad. I mean, I read some crazy stat too. I could be butchering this a bit because I don't have it in front of me anymore, but something like Mahomes had 42 dropbacks or something like that, and the Eagles didn't do any blitzes the whole game. They were just blowing through the line, just doing like normal defense. So basically, like, you had the Eagles D-line was just blowing through and getting to Mahomes, but we also had like the entire backfield covered too. Like the guy had nothing to do. This reminded me of the Buccaneers Chiefs Super Bowl in a lot of ways. Very reminiscent, because what I'm learning about Mahomes is that if the guy starts getting sacked, I mean, again, this goes into the whole rigging thing. If you start rattling the guy, he just folds. I don't know how to explain it. It was like he just looked really bad, like really, really bad. It's a very odd game. So, in my opinion, I did predict that the Chiefs would win, right? Obviously, I thought they would. Forgive me, guys. I thought the Chiefs would put up a better fight than this, especially with all the help they were getting to get to the Super Bowl, and so they could have the three-peat and all that. I guess I kind of fell for the hype a little too, that maybe this Mahomes guy is the next Brady, which we'll see what happens next year. I think the Chiefs aren't done yet. They're probably, like a cancerous tumor, they're probably just going to show back up again every season. But We'll have to see too with the offseason, because this Eagles team was absolutely dominant, and I'm going to be very interested to see who Howie Roseman's going to be able to retain, and then we got the draft coming up as well. So it's pretty crazy to think about what this team is as well. Like I've talked about in the past, I'm not as passionate about football as I used to be. You know, it's kind of gone by the wayside for me just because I've been focusing on other things in my life. But when I think about this team, because I didn't watch 2020, but I pretty much watched every year during the Jalen Hurts era. And yeah, this team went from pretty mediocre. I don't think they were like bad in 2021, but I remember them not being that great. But you know, 2022, 2023, obviously they had the complete meltdown. And then this year was like, I don't know, it really is. This is the best Eagles team I've ever watched. I still have a soft spot in my heart for the Nick Foles win. Obviously, that'll probably always be my favorite win, just because, you know, that was, you know, everybody remembers their first, right? So that one will go down for me personally as the best Super Bowl. But yeah, just thinking about how the Eagles have 2 Super Bowls now, and what a shame we couldn't have beat the Chiefs the first time. But this is kind of what they do. You know, they did this with the Patriots. You know, they lost to the Patriots back in 2004 with McNabb, come back over 10 years later and beat them. This time we didn't have to wait as long, only 2 years. And the Eagles came back and got their revenge. So that's kind of what this team is. I read some stuff about how people on social media are calling the Eagles dynasty killers. And I was thinking, I like the sound of that, because it's true. You know, it's true. We're like the disruptor team. You got the Patriots going on their historic runs. You know, we show up to stop them. You know, shout out to the Giants too. I'll never forget what Eli Manning did to the Patriots, because that was similar to this. The Patriots could have had the undefeated season if it wasn't for Eli Manning. And now with the Eagles, the Chiefs could have had the three-peat if it wasn't for this absolutely dominant Vic Fangio defense. Like, my goodness. So yeah, we're already 7 minutes in, and I haven't even really talked about specifics yet. So we'll get into that now. And then I also kind of want to talk about the commercials and things like that, because there was a lot of I didn't actually watch the halftime show, so I won't really talk about that. But I saw it. We had it on mute. But I did watch a lot of the commercials and the Lady Gaga crap. I mean, I'll just talk about that now. Like, the Brad Pitt commercial was very cringe. Like, everybody's talking about how great that was, but it was basically just the post-war consensus, you know, the World War II narrative, and then the Civil Rights Act. You know, it's just this typical crap that they always do of, like, this is America, and we're a nation of immigrants, and, you know, all this crap. So that was cringe. And then the Lady Gaga performance was pretty cringe. Like, something I've noticed too that I want to talk about is like a broader thing here is that it feels like the country is just shifting as well, but it's like it's just not working as much. Maybe not for me, because like I see the propaganda so bad now with like everything. I think I've talked on this channel before. I call it nightmare goggles. Like, once you see certain things, it's like hard to unsee things. You just start seeing everything as a product, basically, and, you know, what are they trying to sell you, kind of thing. You guys ever seen Wolf of Wall Street? That scene where he's like at the end where he says, "Sell me this pen." You know, when you begin to understand what that means, it's hard to take a lot of this stuff seriously. But what I'm seeing basically is that we had like the 4 years of Joe Biden, which was like absolutely miserable. You know, you had all the gay stuff, you had all the woke crap. You know, I read something that they're going to take end racism and all this stupid propagandistic crap out of the NFL. Like, that's what. So maybe next year we're going to see a lot less of that, which is good, by the way. That's very good. But I've talked in the past about this concept, FanDuel Americans, and that's just what it kind of feels like. It's like we had the 4 years of hell with Biden. Now we're entering this new golden age, as Trump says, where they're basically like putting the woke away, right? They're shelving it for now, maybe forever, maybe just for 4 years, who knows? But there was definitely a vibe shift with that, because another thing about this game, if you guys paid attention to the U.S. election with Trump, I thought that they were going to rig that one again as well. Pretty bad. I was very nervous for that. Like, I thought for sure, I was like, they're going to, Kamala Harris is going to be the president because they're going to say so, kind of thing. But Trump ended up winning, and he won big. And what happened in this game, right? We all thought that the Chiefs were going to get rigged. You know, the refs were going to rig it. And, you know, I'm going to get into the details right after I'm done talking about this real quick. But it ended up being a complete blowout, and there was really this was a very it's a very relaxing Super Bowl to watch. I know as Eagles fans that's very weird to say, right? Like, we're relaxed during the game. I mean, all season it wasn't even like this. We had some blowouts in the season, but you know, the playoffs didn't feel this secure, other than maybe the Redskins game. But you know, that Rams game was a little bit spooky. But this was just, I mean, the Eagles are dominant. It's showing right here, right? First quarter, 7 points. Second quarter, we scored 17 points. Third quarter, 10 points. Like, it was just, and it's just 0 until the third quarter for the Chiefs. And this Chiefs scored 16 points. I want to reiterate that. They scored 16 points in absolute garbage time. So the score really should be 6-40, if we're being honest. But I think the Eagles just didn't care. I mean, Kenny Pickett played, guys. Kenny Pickett started for a snap or for a series in the Super Bowl. So anyway, I'll get to the specifics, but I just wanted to make my point is basically it feels like there is a big vibe shift happening in the country in general. You know, even the halftime show, I saw it muted. It looked pretty degenerate. But, you know, they had like red, white, and blue and all that stuff. And then the commercials, like I said, the Brad Pitt one was cringe. But they're trying to bring back that whole like America, you know, America. I don't even know what era. Maybe like George W. Bush era America. You know, where we're like all in this together. Blah de blah. And then, what else? There was the that was another one. Tom Cruise had this like speech before the Super Bowl. It's kind of like they're trying to push Hollywood again. They're trying to get you to like buy back. That's what it is. That's what I should be saying. They're trying to get us all after the 4 years of hell under Biden, and now Trump is in. They're trying to get us to all buy back in to the country, and we'll just have to see what happens. Like I'm obviously, if you guys have like seen the hat in the background, like I'm obviously a Trump supporter, you know, but I'm not just like a blind Trump supporter. So I have my criticisms of him, but I do think that he's kind of taking the country in a good direction right now, where it feels like people can be a little bit more relaxed again, right? We're finally leaving the COVID era. So that's kind of my broad takeaways. What I wanted to say about that is that I feel like this game is reminiscent of a lot of things going on in the country currently, right? Like, people are fed up with the Chiefs. They were starting to say that the NFL's rigged, which I still think the NFL's rigged. But like I said before, having the Eagles win and win decisively really helps the NFL, I should say. It's going to help the NFL in the long run, because it's going to make the conversation go away from the Chiefs, at least for a little while. And so now we're going to get into specifics 14 minutes in, if you guys watched this, but all this way. But the specifics, and one of the reasons why I think that it was too big to rig. That's another thing about the Trump thing, right? Trump was always saying, it's going to be too big to rig. And that was this game. This game was too big to rig, guys, because the Eagles just blew them out. And that's what I expected from them. You know, A.J. Brown had a touchdown. Jahan Dotson almost had a touchdown. Devontae Smith, my favorite Eagle right now, he had one of the best touchdowns I've ever seen. The one that didn't get a touchdown, weirdly enough, was Saquon Barkley. But that was basically how the Chiefs screwed themselves. They were so worried about Barkley that they just left everything else open, and it was just curtains. So the beginning of the game, I remember too, there was a questionable call. There was like this A.J. Brown pass interference. It was like offensive pass interference. He was basically trying to stiff arm the guy, but he put his face into the face mask. The guy had a visor on too, so like he couldn't have face masked him if he wanted. But that was like right in the beginning of the game, so like already my radar was going off. Like ooh, okay, some weird stuff's happening. But that was really, I don't know. It was almost like Vegas called them and was like, hey, they're on to us, guys. We can't rig this one, so you're gonna have to lighten up, because literally after that penalty, there was actually one on the Eagles that was BS. It was a Dallas Goedert one. They gave Dallas Goedert he got roughed or something, but it wasn't. So there were really just those two penalties that bothered me. To be fair, the Chiefs had a bad one, we had a bad one, but the Chiefs just weren't in the game, so the refs didn't really have much to go on. So this was kind of like a hockey match. Like they just kind of let it go, and go it went. I mean, the Eagles fly, right? They just flew into the victory. There was really no, after the Devontae Smith touchdown in the third quarter, there was like no doubt that they were gonna win. I was like, they're just gonna win now. Like, there's no way. Cooper DeJean too. Cooper DeJean getting the interception early in the game, like that was also like, man, that's like a dagger. It's like a dagger to their heart. And Mahomes, he had a couple interceptions. Zach Bond had an amazing, diving interception. It was just nuts, guys. Like I'm so scatterbrained right now, but you guys watched the game, so you know what I'm talking about. This was just complete and utter dominance. It was like watching the Redskins game, and it's almost like I feel like the season needs to continue. It's like it feels like the Eagles are like really picking up. It's like if they kept playing teams, they would just keep blowing teams out at this point. And it does get me excited for next year. It gets me just seeing what will happen with the off season. Mostly because I think they said we're going to lose Kellen Moore for sure. He's going to coach the Saints, which is like disgusting, but whatever. So the Eagles are going to have to find a new offensive coordinator. I've said, I haven't looked it up, but if Doug Peterson is still available, I've said that would be a great choice to bring Doug Peterson back as an offensive coordinator. Absolutely. I would absolutely love to see that, to be honest. That probably won't happen though, but it would be amazing if it did. But yeah, we're keeping Vic Fangio. Lane Johnson said he's coming back. Brandon Graham, he did say that this is going to be his last game, but I'm going to wait for the official announcement like I did with Jason Kelsey. But Brandon Graham has done his time. This was a year, he tore his tricep in the Rams game. It's like you didn't even expect him to come back. He comes back, guys. He came back and he was all over Mahomes too. That was another thing. There was a couple times where the refs didn't call. Actually, Brandon Graham was like on Mahomes for like 3 snaps, and the Chiefs guys were just holding him basically, and they didn't call it. And then on the third one, they finally called it. So that's just what was really funny to see, is that they were really, the refs really were trying to give the Chiefs a break, but it was just such a dominant destruction of the Chiefs that like the refs just at some point were just like, I can't help you, okay? Like if you can't help yourself in any way, I can't help you. So it was this was not how I thought the game would go, guys. So that's why I'm kind of all over the place. I thought this was going to be like a tight game. It was going to come down to the last seconds, and then if the Eagles won, it was just going to be something crazy, or they were just going to rig the Chiefs. But this was like a chill game, man. This was chill. It was so easy to watch. It'll be fun to watch the highlights. The score bug, that's another thing I wanted to talk about. This complete rant. The score bug, the new little absolutely hideous. Like, I hate now, when I watch this Super Bowl, I got to look at that. They had like PHI and KC, like no logos. They're trying to go for this like 1970s look again or something. I have no clue what the hell they're doing, but that was really ugly. Very poor decision, the way they did the score bug. And so I hope that's not the future of the NFL, because that was just ugly, just atrocious. Like, I like seeing the logos or put the helmet or something. Don't just put PHI. Like, that's just like, again, like, what is this, the 1970s, you know? So that was stupid. But yeah, oh yeah, the offense. So the defense was lights out. The offense, you know, they're pretty good. I mean, the thing about the Eagles offense is, like, it's hard for me to call them elite, but I think that I'm like spoiled at this point because I've watched this Jalen Hurts team for so long. It's like hard for me to remember, you know, the pain I went through during, like, you know, say the Chip Kelly years or the late Andy Reid years, which was when I started watching the Eagles, was the late Andy Reid years. You know, I saw I think it was like a 4-12. One of the first Nick Foles season, it was like 4-12 before they fired him. I remember I think the first year I ever watched was when the Eagles lost to the Cardinals in the championship game. That was the year it was the Cardinals Steelers in the Super Bowl. But I barely remember that. So, like, the real pain I remember is like the Chip Kelly years, and, you know, I was just always on edge. And then, you know, we got the great year with Carson Wentz and Nick Foles, but a lot of Carson Wentz's years just sucked as well. And so I don't know what it is. It's like maybe my brain is just like thinking that Jalen Hurts in this offense is worse than it actually is, because all they do is win. They don't always win like this, but they do win. And that's one of the things I do admire about Jalen Hurts. I've always admired about him, is that I feel like he's one of those guys that he doesn't care so much about, like, the money per se. You know, obviously he's getting paid, but he kind of has the Brady mentality where he just wants to win. So that's very good to have in general, even if like Jalen Hurts isn't my favorite type of, like, quarterback. It's a very good mentality to have a quarterback that just wants to win no matter what. Like, he doesn't care how you win. He doesn't care if, you know, Jahan Dotson catches 3 touchdowns, right? If, like, something crazy happens, Kenny G runs for 2 touchdowns, right? Just like any player on the team, he would be happy as long as they win. So it's a great strength, and you really saw it this time. You know, that the Chiefs basically took Saquon away. They completely took Saquon away. This was probably, in a weird way, this was the worst game. This was probably the worst game Saquon had during the whole season, because the Chiefs were just so hyper-focused on taking him out of the game. And I think Saquon has had a touchdown every game as well. This was the only game, so they denied him a touchdown. But like I said, it just left everything else open. Jalen Hurts was running all over the field. You had catches from Dallas Goedert. Like I said, you had, like, the whole offense just kind of opened up. You know, A.J. Brown had some really, really clutch catches. You know, Smitty, as always. The guy never drops balls, except that one time he did drop the ball, which was a stupid drop, and it pissed me off. But that wasn't because of him. That was because they took Jalen Hurts out of the game, and they ejected C.J. Garner-Johnson. That whole Redskins victory was a complete fraud, in my opinion, because, you know, as we see, right? It's just time to say it, guys. The Eagles are the literal best team in the NFL. Will that carry over to next year? I don't know. I hope the Eagles are the next Chiefs at this point. You know, maybe they'll start rigging it for us. We'll just have to see what happens. But, yeah, it's 24 minutes in. You know, I feel like I've said mostly what I was going to say. You know, Mahomes looked like a third-string quarterback in this game. He looked really bad. It was great to see, guys. Enjoy this, and really enjoy this. I'll probably make some other videos in the future. I don't know exactly when, but I'm going to, like, really think about this one. But this was just great. It was fantastic. it was just, maybe some people were telling me, it was a little bit boring. Maybe you could, if you were like not a fan of either team, it was probably a little boring. Because, this just reminded me, really, that's what this reminded me of. This reminded me of the Seahawks-Broncos Super Bowl, if you guys remember that. That game was just an absolute destruction of the Broncos. The Seahawks just dismantled them. I still remember, I thought that was boring because, I don't like the Seahawks and I really don't like the Broncos. So I remember watching that Super Bowl and I was like, that's very boring. So I can see why people were like unimpressed, but a lot of people are also very happy. I was getting a lot of texts saying like, oh man, just people I haven't talked to in like a long time. They were texting me like, oh man, I'm so glad the Chiefs didn't win again. And so there definitely was that and again, that goes with the whole vibe shifting I talked about earlier. I feel like the country is I guess healing, you could say, for lack of a better term, but it just feels like we're turning the page in a good way, maybe more of the same. I don't know what era we're trying to go back to with Trump and everything. Are we trying to go back to the 50s? Or are we just trying to go back to the 90s? Like, whatever, The country is still very confused in my mind. I hate to make this about, like, politics, but to me this all connects now, right? Like football, Hollywood, politics, religion. It's all interwoven, right? And so, yeah, the year Trump wins the presidency in a blowout is also the year that the Eagles win the Super Bowl in a blowout. That to me is not a coincidence because I don't believe in coincidences. So I think everything happens for a reason. And so we had just a wild ride of a season, I hope everyone enjoyed it. Obviously as Eagles fans, we loved this, and I hope you enjoyed the season. It was a ride, man. This was a fun season to watch, especially after what happened last year, where they just imploded. That was, I didn't even know what to think last year. I thought for sure, I was like, this team's done. They're broken. So we'll have to see what happens. Will they have a Super Bowl hangover next year, or will they continue to fly high? Saquon's still got 2 years on his contract. It's great. It's crazy to see, like, yeah, this team is just getting started in many ways. I mean, you got all these young guys. You got Cooper DeJean, you got Quinyon Mitchell. You got Jalen Carter. It's just crazy to think about how he's done. Howie always surprises me. I always say that, but I just can't believe that he does this all the time. It's like we think we're gonna suck. We suck for maybe like a year, and then we're right back in it. It's been like this for my entire Eagles watching career, and so it's wild. We'll have to see what he does. And again, we have the draft. The draft is going to be very exciting this year because we're probably going to lose some people. That's really what I'm going to see. If I make some more videos, maybe I'll cover who we lose. I'm going to be very interested in who they bring in for offensive coordinator, but yeah. Anyway, guys, that's kind of all I have to say. Like I said, this is going to be a longer one. I want to do live streams so that we can just talk for like an hour. Maybe I do like a live stream like once a week, and we just kind of talk about stuff, I guess. When there's not football, I could just make videos on whatever during the time. But I'll have to look into that more. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you if you watched the entire video. Appreciate it. Go ahead and make sure you hit the like button as well. It really helps the channel grow. I've gained like a couple new subscribers recently, so thanks for that. Would like to get to 1,000. I think if I get to 1,000, I can live stream. So that's kind of like my goal with the channel now. And then comment down below and subscribe if you're new, and I appreciate it. But enjoy this one, guys. Enjoy it. If you go to the gym, you got to go to work tomorrow, whatever. Walk in with your head held high, because this game was too big to rig, and it felt absolutely fantastic. Like, I'm in a state of euphoria right now. I just don't even know how I feel. All I know is that I'm so glad that I got to see Patrick Mahomes fall flat on his face and watch Jalen Hurts fly high. Talk to you guys later.